It is my absolute pleasure to introduce Ron Lipsky and Nitin Mantri to the stage.
Is this me? Yes. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you very much for hanging for this last half hour before the networking. We appreciate it. Welcome to all the people who have traveled as far as we have. I came from Italy, so I'm glad to see so many people made the effort to come in this far. And to the Australians here, thanks for being so welcoming. What an amazing country and what a friendly people. And as someone who's worked for an Australian company for 3 years and is coming for the first time, amazing. Thank you very much. I'm going to keep it very brief on MGC Pharma as a corporate presentation because that's not really why we're here today. We're here today to talk about what we do with RMIT. So I want to talk about why that's important. We're a publicly traded company in Australia, but our operations are based in their majority in Europe. And when we started working in Australia, we had to assess what we could do quickly, what was viable, what we actually knew from our experience would take a long time, such as cultivation, as we all know, manufacturing, et cetera, and what could happen now that would have an impact on this industry for the coming years and would help us build it. And academia is crucial. I can go through a million reasons, but we start with the first ones, which are research. The second one, which is training the next generation of people who are going to work in this industry. We're going to have a huge lack of manpower unless we start training appropriately. The other thing is data that everyone can agree on. If you've tried to engage in any kind of clinical research over the past couple of years in the cannabis space, you know that you are going to encounter massive issues with ethics committees when they want to talk about THC, when they want to talk about CBD, when they want to see research that has been generated in the world that can give them the answers that they're used to getting. Unless cannabis companies, unless innovation happens in the academic sphere, we're never going to get the legitimacy that we need in order to get doctors, and in the future, medical schools, and after that, pharmacology schools, and all of the avenues that we're going to need to make our pharmaceuticals reach patients in the way that we want them to. So, as you can see, our goal is to be a seed to pharma company that does everything from cultivation through to the manufacture of true phytopharma medicines. These are created in formulations. We currently manufacture in Slovenia, where we also have our R&D center. And what we're trying to create as much as possible is global collaboration. RMIT's far. Australia's far. We all know that, having traveled. So to be able to start bridging that distance, both in education and in communication between academic institutions, seemed to us very, very crucial. Again, as I said, not too much of our presentation today, because that's all corporate stuff that we don't need to look at. Beautiful people. But this is important. We're talking about R&D, and R&D has a lot to do with engaging with academia in order to find the right people to do that R&D. I don't know how many people here have been engaged in trying to get grants for research. It's hard. Try to get grants for research for cannabis. It's harder, but it has to be done, and we have to keep on trying to do it. So 3 years ago, or 2.5 years ago approximately, we started communicating with Nitin at RMIT. And beyond RMIT being a leading institution here in various fields in Australia, what we also wanted was a partner on the ground who was interested, engaged, and wanted to make things happen. And we found that in RMIT and Nitin. From the beginning, our view was to cover the whole scope. So we're going from cultivation through to pharma in our research and development with RMIT also, which Nitin will explain a little bit. But we really believe that everything needs to be researched at this point in time. If we all skip these crucial steps of getting the data that everyone needs to know, at the end of the chain, we're going to end up with products that can't be verified the correct way. Doctors aren't going to know how to interact with them. They're not going to know how to deal with prescriptions. They're not going to be able to deal with the possible conflicts that might arise with existing medications. We need to create a format. So R&D is the format. RMIT collaboration was a large part of that and is a large part of our global agenda to engage with academia. That's the best intro I can provide at the moment. I think Nitin's going to be able to break down the activities at RMIT and explain them in a way that will contextualize all of this. we want to encourage more of this. We want more companies to engage. This isn't something that is just MGC or is something that is built just in order to further our agenda. It's for the entire industry. Our International Library of Phytocannabinoids is built to be an open source resource so that everyone can start skipping through 6 months of ethics committees on THC. And the moment we can do that, we'll have more studies going on. We'll have more clinical trials. We'll have students in medical schools studying cannabis, which is going to be so significant to 10 years from now when these people are doctors who are prescribing. And if they have an understanding from the beginning, if they don't have to be forced into learning something at the last minute before they interact with the patient, we're going to have a much better chance of balancing out this world of existing pharmaceuticals and phytocannabinoid pharmaceuticals. So, Nitin, please join us. We're going to switch to your presentation.
Thanks, Ron. Ron, can I have the pointer? So I would just like to start by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we are meeting today, and respectfully acknowledge the elders past, present, and future. Now, I know there's a global audience here, and someone was mentioning about 50% of people are from overseas, so I'm just giving you a brief intro on RMIT. It was founded in 1887 as a working men's college. And since then, it has now transformed into the largest tertiary education provider in Australia. Not many people know this. We've got around 83,000 students. And we have campuses in Melbourne, Bandura, and Brunswick in Australia, and in Ho Chi Minh City and Hanoi in Vietnam. We also have teaching partnerships with Singapore, China, Malaysia, Indonesia. And if I can mention, very soon we will have our own campus in China. We, a few years before, started a coordination center in Europe, in Barcelona, that coordinates all our activities with European institutions. And if you ask me to summarize in one sentence what we are about, what our strength is, I would say our industry-focused research is our strength. And we, at RMIT, we have a motto as industry in whatever we do. So everything is applied and industry-focused, including our teaching. Oh, sorry, I'm pressing the wrong button here. So why are we in cannabis space? We have been involved in researching in traditional medicine for well over 25 years now. And we started that because people coming from Asia mainly, knowing that traditional medicine is also good, not just the modern medicine, but there was no acceptance of traditional medicine here in Australia. So a group started working with direct support from the Vice Chancellor, and we established a division of Chinese medicine. And over the years, we've gathered evidence on the mode of action of various Chinese herbs. And that led to, establishment of the WHO Center for Traditional Medicine in 2005. And we support the WHO plan, 10-year plan, to strengthen the use of traditional medicine in keeping populations healthy. And not just that, because we've been doing so much research and evidence-based research, we also started training practitioners quite a while ago. And we were the first university to come up with a very comprehensive program to train Chinese medicine practitioners. And if some of you from Australia recall, in 2007, Victoria was the first state to approve Chinese medicine practitioners. So, that's what we've managed to achieve. So this is just a photo to show that we have a WHO Center for Traditional Medicine. Now, let me talk about what we do with MGC Pharmaceuticals. We have an umbrella agreement with MGC Pharmaceuticals around these areas. So breeding and cultivation of cannabis, genotyping and cannabinoid profiling, development of phytocannabinoid database, and developing products for treatment of melanoma and prostate cancer, including the side effects of cancer treatment. Now, I'll talk to you about the progress we have done. So like Ron mentioned, we started talking about these projects almost 2 years before now. And because of the regulatory hurdles, the progress has been a bit slow in some areas. But while we've been waiting for regulation to go through or to get a license, we've been doing some other things. So while we are waiting for the ODC license, we've already constructed a facility that allows us to cultivate cannabis. And we've got different rooms for vegetative propagation, for cloning, and for flower production. And we've also built a processing lab. It's like a, sorry, by the end of it, I'll get a hang of using this. I'm not used to this kind of format. So we've also built a processing lab which allows the chemical profiling and also some amount of cell culture studies. And I would like to mention here that although we've been waiting for license, RMIT has been very supportive of all this, and they have spent $1.5 million for this all, even though we are just haven't started. So it's a big support, and that's why I'm saying we are very industry focused, and we work towards building relationships with industries. So here are some of the other facilities that are available for MGC to use apart from the cultivation facility. We've got a microscopy and microanalysis facility, which will allow us, it's got latest electron microscopes, XRD microscopes, and so on, that will be used for tissue analysis, cell analysis, and so on. We've got a micro-nano research facility, and we've been talking to MGC about developing dermal patches to deliver, cannabinoids for treatment of melanoma. So some of the patches can be manufactured here. We've got an animal house facility that will be used for the in vivo studies, animal model testing, histopathological facility that will be used for studies of tissues and coming from animals as well as humans. And we've got a next generation sequencing facility that will be used for gene expression studies. So if we want to prove a mode of action, and that's what we do right now for the other Chinese herbs that we mainly study, we use this for gene expression studies. And we've got an analytical chemistry facility that will be used for profiling the cannabinoids within the strains that we have. I mentioned advanced manufacturing precinct here because we've got latest 3D printers. And if you know, now people are going into bioprinting and developing 3D models of tissues that you can test without even going to animals. So we'll be using that for that purpose. And this Food Research Innovation Center allows formulation of various drugs. So we will be doing various formulations. For example, if you wanted to put cannabinoids into a matrix of some sort, and if you want to see how it will be absorbed within the gut, you can do that over there. Now, this is the status of the cultivation and breeding project that we have. We've applied for license in September 2017. And people from Australia will know ODC has been rather slow. And we've received 2 letters of communication to date. And the second letter that we got recently has been very promising. So there's only a few things we need to clarify, and that's why we are optimistic that in the next couple of months, by the end of the year, we will not just have the license, but the permit as well, because we've already built the facility. Now, like I said, while we are waiting for the cultivation facility or getting the breeding and cultivation license, we've started working with MGC on some other projects. And one of the main projects that we started on is developing this international library of cannabinoids, which is like an open source platform that aims to provide an integrated and open source platform for cannabinoid research or user data from academia, industry, and clinicians. So, the doctors who are using it, the patients who are using it, and the researchers can enter all their user data in here. And then over time, we will accumulate a lot of data that will allow everyone to find out which cannabinoid profile is good for what particular condition. And there are other companies or other institutes you would know that focus on even getting, or if I can say, in computer science terms, retrieving data from the web. It could be any source, and then putting it into some database and trying to find out, what cannabinoids are useful. We wanted to avoid that and only get trusted data sources. So our main focus is going to be clinical case studies. It could be a randomized clinical trial, or it could be a personal trial, of someone. So it could be a patient who's registered at a hospital, and as long as they're comfortable entering their data in there, we would include their data. And the other, trusted source for data is obviously the research articles that have been peer-reviewed. And one of my students is currently working on developing a deep learning algorithm to retrieve data directly from research articles. For example, some of you who are from academia, or there are databases that curate research articles. So we will be going directly to databases like PubMed, Google Scholar, and so on, and retrieving data directly with that algorithm once we develop it. And here are some of the other sources of the research articles. Now, this is the structure of, like I said, towards the end, I will manage to get a hang on this. So, this is the structure of the database. This is where the International Library of Cannabinoids sits. We are capturing strain data, and we are capturing detailed strain data. So what I mean by detailed information is all the descriptors of the strain, how it was grown, how it was processed, how it was stored, and then what kind of chemical profiling it has, and what kind of genetic profile it has. So all of that will be captured here. We will also be capturing clinical data from the patients, either directly from the patients or through the doctors. And then, like I mentioned, we will be capturing research data. Now, this research data, it not just comes from clinical trials. As you would know, some people also do cell culture-based assays, animal model assays. So all of these will be entered into the database. Now, we are doing some of the experiments ourselves with MGC and some other partners. So we will be entering our own data. We've also developed partnerships with leading universities overseas, and we will be also getting data from them. And I would take this opportunity here to invite anyone who's interested. It could be an industry, academic institution, whoever has access to any data or who will be developing data, please come and use this database, because the more data we have in here, the more precisely we can say which cannabinoids are good for what particular condition. And also, like Ron mentioned, it will be easier to go through the regulatory hurdles that we've been facing. This is how the ILC looks like. So this is the beta testing model that we have. That's the home page, and this is the admin dashboard. So the admin is going to, the main role of admin is going to be acting like a curator. So they will be looking at the data that people have entered, like doctors, patients, and researchers, and looking for any unusual information. So if information has been entered in a wrong place, or also information that has been entered incompletely. So they will be contacting the person who's entering it and making sure that it has been entered properly. So that's the admin one. This is the dashboard for the doctor. And the doctor will only have access to their own patient data. So the doctors can use this as an interface to keep a track of all their patients. So they will be adding a patient-specific information. I'm not sure if it is visible, like, even I can't read from here. But there's some buttons where they can enter follow-up information from the patients as well. So not just entering the first information, but also follow-up information and checking on patient progress. So this is, the page for adding patient-specific information. So here on this one, the personal details of the patient, including what condition they're suffering, is mentioned, entered here. Here, the treatment-specific information for the patient, so what condition they are suffering, what kind of cannabinoid ratio is being used, what is the targeted dose, minimum dose, maximum dose, the dosage frequency, and so on. So it is going to be as comprehensive as possible, and we are going to evolve it even further, depending on what kind of feedback we get from the users. But you can't see it all here, but it is very comprehensive, and we are trying to capture as much information as we can. And here is the web page for entering data from animal model studies, in vivo studies. So what kind of animal model is used for what particular disease, what was the positive control, negative control, and all those things. And the efficacy of all those treatments as well. And this is the page for entering strain data. So like I said, we will be capturing the descriptors, various descriptors of the strain, genetic information, cultivation information, when it was harvested, what kind of chemical profile it has, and detailed chemical profile, not just the THC and CBD, but all together, including the terpenes as well. Now, again, moving on, from that project, we developed another interface for MGC to use. And this is mainly for them to do a clinical trial that they want to do on a an epilepsy product that they have developed, and it is called as Cannapil. So they are starting a clinical trial very soon, and we have developed a mobile app and a web application. So the mobile app is going to be used by the patients to record their daily seizure diary. And we have got a cross-platform mobile app that anyone can use. And the web app is going to be used by the doctors and hospital coordinators to check on patient progress and conduct monthly follow-up surveys. So I will show you some of the screenshots of the Cannapil app that we have developed. And I'm showing you this as a demonstration, but we have developed it as a dynamic platform. So tomorrow, if you want to use the same system for doing any other clinical trial, you can develop it from that particular platform. You can change the survey questions that you're asking the patients, and you can target it towards a different trial. So this is the doctor screen, and the doctor can keep a tab on the patient follow-up, what kind of treatment the patient is going through. If the patient is not filling up their forms and so on, they can contact the patient. This is a screen where the doctor enters patient-specific survey response, so the monthly survey response. And here, the doctor is checking the patient progress. So if they're filling up all the forms correctly and regularly and so on. And if not, they will contact the patient to get that particular information. This is the patient screen, and this is a mobile app. They can see as when they log in which forms they have completed and which forms are pending. And then if they click on one of these, they can start filling up the questions, and you can see it is tracking the progress as they go. So once they enter information for the last question, then they can click submit, and they finish off with that particular form. And like I said, we can easily adapt it to any other product that anyone else wants to test in future. So the last thing I want to talk about, and it's a very interesting initiative that we have embarked on in the last few months. And again, it's something where we want to invite everyone to participate. So we have developed what we are calling Kenna Hub. And Kenna Hub is a research and innovation platform that is for academia as well as in industries to use to develop cannabis-based medical products right from idea generation or hackathon to commercialization. So the lead partners that we have right now is RMIT University and Hebrew University of Jerusalem. And the lead industry partners are MGC, Sputnik, and CPG funds. So these are venture capital funds that have partnered with us. But like I'm saying, we are open to having other academic partners here, and we are inviting other people to join as well, and other industries as well. So it's going to be like a very dynamic platform that is going to take ideas right from idea generation up until commercialization. So we are starting with a hackathon in February or March next year. And the theme of the hackathon is going to be around prostate and melanoma treatment using cannabis-based products. And I take this opportunity to invite you all to that particular hackathon, and you will get an update through the Cannatech team. So Once that hackathon is conducted, we will generate ideas. And these ideas will be discussed in presence of industry partners. And if the industry is interested in a particular idea, then they can either incubate the idea directly for R&D, or it will go through a refinement process. So refinement being, we have our own partners, like I mentioned. We will be seeking consultation from experts in this field and refine the ideas more so that it is ready for R&D. So once the idea is ready for R&D, they will have to apply for incubation. And what will happen during this application is the panel will make sure that there are enough resources at particular academic institution to support R&D of that particular idea. So it's not just a bureaucratic process, but it will be more like helping the industry achieve the outcome, making sure that the resources are there. So once that is all decided and the idea is ready to be incubated, one of our academic partners, or maybe couple of academic partners together, will collaborate and do R&D to develop a particular product that the industry was interested in. And once the product prototype is developed, then it will go through the acceleration phase where we will be conducting consumer surveys, market surveys, and so on to refine the prototype more and make sure that it is market ready before it is launched. And maybe for some of the products, you might want to go back to R&D and refine it a little bit more. So once it is ready for commercialization, we will be helping them with commercialization process as well, including marketing strategy, licensing, and so on. And we have all these platforms right now at RMIT University. And I would like to say that for some of these, we are collaborating with MIT from the US, and we have a sister program from MIT. So exactly the same kind of program that MIT runs, we are running the same kind of program at RMIT to help industries to do research and innovation in not just cannabis, but in other fields as well. So like I said, I take this opportunity to invite each and every one of you to this Kenna Hub, wherever, at whatever process you want to join, you're welcome to join it. These are the current projects that we are working on within the hub. Apart from the 3 projects that I discussed just now that we're doing with MGC, MGC is also doing another 3 projects with us, and in that Hebrew University is quite closely involved. So we've partnered with Hebrew to do another 3 projects, and because they're commercially sensitive, I can't talk too much about them. And like I said, we are also doing a hackathon in Feb or March, and I invite you all to join that. So with that, I will stop here. And if you've got any questions, please ask.
Thank you very much, Nitin. We have a minute and a half left. If anyone has questions, does anyone have anything they want to bring up? Question?
When you were talking about the library, how does that intersect with the whole issue of IP?
It's a very good question, and it's something we really brainstormed when we were first discussing. Not everyone is going to be comfortable with sharing their data, especially big companies, pharmaceutical giants. They will never share their data. They want to own it. This platform is more geared towards cannabis medicine because we see more and more people want to come together to support this space. So it's not like the traditional pharmaceutical research where people want to keep it all secret and just do it by themselves, spend millions of dollars. This space is new. Everyone wants to collaborate and work together. And this platform is for people who are wanting to work together. So obviously there will be exceptions.
I'll wrap it up with this point. I think that everything that Nitin said implies collaboration, and collaboration is going to be crucial for this industry to grow the correct way. It's not the time for us to be sniping at each other's heels. It's the time for us to build a really firm platform that we can build up on for the next 10, 20, 100 years. And that's why this is important. It's not all fun, sexy, or appealing, but it has to happen. Otherwise, we're just, we're I don't know, rowing against the tide, right? And we want to be going with the tide.